Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of amendments to this title that cut funds, reduce our military footprint, and move to bring our troops home from Afghanistan, and I rise in opposition to the underlying bill. I want to commend the ranking member of the committee, Congressman Norm Dix from Washington, for his leadership in calling for a fresh look at how we carry out military operations in Afghanistan and the need for a strategy that brings our troops home sooner rather than later. Mr. Chairman, I just returned from a trip to Afghanistan. I cannot describe how impressed I am with the commitment, the dedication, and the work carried out every single day by our men and women in uniform and those in the civilian services. I met and spoke with them in Kabul, Marja, at large bases like Bagram Air Force Base, and in small villages. Quite simply, Mr. Chairman, they are incredible. But over and over and over again, I heard the same message. This is not sustainable. The strategy that we are pursuing in Afghanistan is not sustainable, and it is costing us too much in human lives and financial resources to continue. It can't continue for another 18 months as called for by the President, let alone even longer. I stand here tonight more convinced than ever that it is time to forge a new path, a new strategy, built upon past and present accomplishments, but more aggressively focused on more rapidly reducing the U.S. military footprint in Afghanistan than the plan described last month by the President, accelerating the transition of combat operations to Afghanistan authorities, and an intense international and regional effort to secure a political solution to the Afghan conflict and defining a genuine regional coordinated effort that safeguards the region and the world from terrorist threats. While I was in Afghanistan, General Petraeus invited me and two members that I was traveling with, Congressman Allen West and Duncan Hunter Jr., to attend a ramp ceremony. We may not always agree on policy, but we were united in how respectful, emotional, and moving we found the ceremony honoring the fallen soldiers who were being transported by the C-130 on their final journey home. Mr. Chairman, 1,650 American servicemen and women have sacrificed their lives in the Afghanistan war. While I was in Afghanistan, 6 more were killed. It was a reminder of the enormous sacrifice that our soldiers are paying. 2010 was the deadliest year of conflict to date in the Afghanistan war for U.S. and coalition forces and for Afghan civilians. This year, 2011, is on pace to be the deadliest year of the war. We need to end the war, not sustain it, Mr. Chairman. We are borrowing $8 to $10 billion each month for military operations alone. Borrowing, Mr. Chairman, borrowing. We know we can't sustain that, and we know that the Afghan government and security forces don't have the resources or the political will to sustain that level of resources once we leave. We need to find a new strategy and purpose to help bring this conflict to an end. And congressional leaders are in negotiations, grappling with how to deal with the national debt. It can't be done if we don't find the means and the political will to end this war sooner rather than later. According to CBO, we can save $1.3 trillion by ending these wars. That's trillion with a T, Mr. Chairman. We have spent approximately $3.7 trillion since 9/11 in Iraq and Afghanistan. We cannot afford another decade like the last one. It is simply not sustainable. We need to also understand that jobs and economic security and economic strength are central parts of our national security. While we serve as an ATM machine for a corrupt government in Kabul, we tell our own people that we have no money for roads and bridges and schools and teachers and police and firefighters and jobs here at home. Enough. I urge all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support amendments that reduce our spending and military footprint in Afghanistan, help bring our troops home sooner rather than later, and call for a new strategy and a new direction in Afghanistan. And, Mr. Chairman, I will be submitting, for the record, 2 articles, one from the Washington Post entitled CBO, Ending the Wars Could Save $1.4 Trillion, and an article that appeared in Scientific American entitled Legacy of Mental Health Problems from Iraq and Afghanistan Wars Will Be Long-Lived. Mr. Chairman, the time has come for us to come together and find a different strategy in Afghanistan, one that will bring our troops home sooner rather than later. It is time to end this war. I yield back my time.